Hello class, this lecture is going to focus on pronominal suffixes. In previous lectures we've looked at pronouns. We've defined what a pronoun is and what a pronoun looks like, particularly like independent pronouns. And in this lecture we're going to look at pronouns as they occur as suffixes. Previously we've seen words that prefix themselves at the beginning of Hebrew words. So like the definite article, like the wow conjunction, like the prepositions that we've seen, the inseparable prepositions. So all of those attach at the beginning of a word. Well, sometimes there are things that attach at the end of words that will mean other, that are whole other words. And that's what we're going to get with these pronominal suffixes. They suffix themselves to the back of words. So in this lecture, we're going to cover how to spot the form of, that's what they look like in Hebrew, how they're spelled out, and to translate pronominal suffixes in Hebrew. And then we're going to talk about how those suffixes attach themselves to nouns, to prepositions, and to the definite direct object marker, which we've called the DDOM previously as just a shorthand way of talking about it. So one of the things that we want to know is kind of what's going on with pronominal suffixes. And these last two bullet points on this are going to be the most helpful probably. But I want to go over all of them. Pronominal suffixes are pronouns that attach to nouns, prepositions, the DDOM, and verbs, but we're going to study the verbs later, so don't worry about that right now. Pronominal suffixes are either possessive, meaning my, your, his, her, our, their. They show possession, that's what possessive means. Or objective, me, you, him, her, us, them. So when appearing on nouns, they're possessive. So if you had the word book, and you stuck the third masculine singular suffix on it, it would be his book, or the third feminine singular, her book, or one of the second person, your book, right? But when occurring with prepositions, the DDOM or verbs, they are objective. Them, his, him, right? So we'll see that here in just a second. Pronominal suffixes have person, gender, and number. We've seen all of those concepts before. First, second, or third person, right? Gender or number, masculine or feminine, right? And then number, singular or plural. And then there are two types of suffixes. These two types of suffixes are the most common. The type 1 suffixes are going to be common on singular words, singular nouns, and the DDOM. The type 2 suffixes are going to appear most regularly with plural nouns. Prepositions can take either type, but we'll look at that. So with the noun, so that's word kol here, the kof, the holam, wow, and then the lamed means the word. It's the word voice. So kol. But if you wanted to say his voice, you'd say kol o. That holam wow at the end there means his. But that holam wow is also, right, if it's objective and it's used with a preposition, it means him. So to, that lamed preposition meaning to or toward, or for, right, to him. And then with the direct object marker, it just means him. Just means him. So we'll look at what these forms look like. So the type 1 and the type 2 forms. So if you've got the O ending there, so I'm going to go down the column with the type 1 forms. O means is going to be like his, him, his. That's the third masculine singular. The 3FS, her, hers, right? The second masculine singular, the second feminine singular, you. The 1CS, like me, my, right? Him and hin are the masculine plurals for, or are the plurals for masculine and feminine. Kim and kin are the plurals for the second person, masculine and feminine. And then the new is the 1CP. Now look at the end of these. They look very, the type 2 suffixes, they have a very similar look to them. Notice the main difference between them that you can recognize is that there's the yod there. And really what these are most commonly going to be is they're going to be, like if you want to say a word that's plural and you want to affix the suffix, this is how it's going to appear. It's going to drop off some of those other things and it's going to appear this way. So you've got the same basic endings there, but you've got the yod and usually a tsere, that strong A vowel. Not always. There's you've got the Kemet, you've got the Sigil there, you've got the Patak, and then you got the whole kind of diphthong with the two FS. But for the most part, those last ones especially are the Tsere. There are some minor spelling differences. At sometimes the 3MS can appear as who, the 3FS can appear as ha, the 1CS as ni, the 3MP as and the 3FP as on. So again, the way that you're going to recognize those is if you see them. Those aren't as common, but just know that they're there. So let's see what this looks like in practice. So the word Seuss we've already learned is horse, because remember Dr. Seuss likes horses is a good way to remember that. So if you want to say our horse, you've got that anu ending. Seuss anu. Horse is the word Seuss, and then anu is our horse, right? Our horse. If you wanted to say our horses, remember Seuss-im would be the word for horses. But they're just going to say Seuss anu, but they're going to spell it. They're going to add that yod there. So they're not going to say Susimenu, Susimenu. It's very long. It's kind of drawn out. So they just say Susenu. It's really got the same pronunciation because that Tsere Yod has the same basic pronunciation as the Tsere does, that hard A sound. But the difference that we're going to see here is that you've got the Yod within the spelling, and that indicates that it's plural, our horses. So here's what it would look like. Sus-o, right, is going to be Susau, right, for his horses. Sus-o, his horse. Sus-au, his horses. Susa, right, Suska, Susake, Susi, right, so I'm just going to go down that type 1 list. Suso, his horse. Susa, her horse. Suska, your horse. Susake, your horse, depending on masculine and feminine. Susi, my horse. Susam, their horse. Susam, Susan, their horse. Again, masculine and feminine differences there. Kim and kin at the end there, and then anu for the 1CCP, Susenu. So notice the schwa there is silent when it occurs in most of those, and so or when it occurs in those. And so here you've got, if you wanted to make each one of those plural, notice that there's not that much of a difference. Right? They're still basically the same thing. The big difference to recognize is probably going to be in the 3MP and the 3FP, where you've got the him and the hin instead of just the and the on. Right? But the yod is attached. Pretty much other than that, they're very similar. They're very similar. So even though it looks like there's a ton to memorize here, a ton to look at, these are the same basic endings you're going to see for everything. So really rejoice in that. Hebrew is very consistent for the most part. It's much more consistent than a language like English is. The rules that govern it are much more consistent. So while it seems like there's a lot here, you don't have to have all of these memorized. It would be great if you had them memorized. Maybe practice 1 or 2 of them a day to memorize, and after the course of a couple of weeks, you'd have them memorized. But really, you want to be able to look at it. You want to know that the word horse is there, and then, oh, if it's got the Comet's hay ending with the Dagash Line in it, what is that? Oh, that's her horse. That's her horse. Pronominal suffixes are added directly to masculine singular nouns. So you see with a masculine singular noun, you've got that suso, susau, right? So you just got that very easy to recognize. Be careful to note the important difference in spelling between the 1CS type 1 and type 2, where you've got the Hirik Yod vowel letter, and then you've got the Patak Yod there. So Susi versus Susai, right? So not, again, the type 2 showing my horses versus my horse. But if you just remember E, Hirik Yod means my, it'll be pretty easy to recognize. So here it is with feminine nouns. It can look a little bit different, not much. You should see vast similarity between these. So Torah tho. So that word is Torah. So it's not just torao, toratho. So the hey turns into a tau, right? So toratha, torathka, torathake, right? So the endings on the feminine nouns, they're the same, right? They really don't change much. They're pretty much the same. It's the hey has turned into a tau. So the hey changes to a tau before the suffix is added because it's easier to make that th sound than the huh sound when you've got words after it. So again, we've seen this in Hebrew though. The tau ending is very common. So if you wanted to say his law, you'd say Toratho. If you wanted to say his laws, you'd say Toroth Ow. Right? So Toroth Ow. You've still got the feminine plural ending there. So notice you've got the feminine plural ending. So the feminine plurals with the type 2 suffixes should be even easier than the masculine because the meme drops off in the masculine. Here you've still got the oath appearing. Right? So you've got the oath appearing. Again, you've got the oath appearing for the type 2. The majority of nouns will experience vowel changes with the addition of a suffix. We've seen this before. When you're adding something, you're going to have those prescribed rules of vowel reduction, particularly as you get to like a pro-pretonic syllable, right? So you've got the word davar. If you want to say my word, which means word. If you wanted to say my word, divari, right? So we've already seen divarim, right? Divarim. It's got the same amount of syllables. Divarim, right? It's got the same amount of syllables as divari. So you've got the same pro-pretonic reduction that we've had in previous lessons. So nothing crazy here. The same patterns that we've already established. So if in chapter 3 you learned those ideas, they should carry over into this, and you should feel pretty comfortable. On certain monosyllabic nouns, you'll see something slightly different. So instead of like aho for a brother, it'll be like achau, right? Or ahiha. So you've got the Hirik Yod vowel letter that's going to be added for certain monosyllabic nouns. But you've still got the same basic form that you're going to see there. All you have to remember is that with some, like a common word like brother, and you want to say his brother or her brother, you're going to have that Hirik Yod vowel letter attach. You don't have to memorize each one of these and reproduce them, so this shouldn't be overwhelming. Instead, just think, okay, well, sometimes there's a slight variation with that Hirik Yod vowel letter, and then it changes it a little bit for the 3FS. The others are mostly the same. The 3MP and the 3FP instead of and on are him and hin, but we already said that can happen at times. Other than that, it's pretty similar. So when they go on prepositions, we've already talked about what they look like. So to him, to her. So lo, la, lakha, lak, li, lachem, lachen, kit, lakim, lakin, lanu, right? To him, to her, to you, to me. So just practice looking at those. And then with certain type 2, with certain prepositions, the type 2 are going to be added. So the word al means on or upon, right? And that word is just going to take the type 2. It doesn't mean that it's plural. It's not like upons or ons, which doesn't make sense. It's just that word takes the type 2 suffixes. It's just what it prefers for the way that it sounds in Hebrew. So know that the pronominal suffixes can take either, but again, you should be able to recognize these. These actually occur with pretty good frequency. Pronominal suffixes with the kaf preposition and the min preposition, so are going to look a little bit different. So with the kaf preposition, you're just going to see kamohu. It's just, this is how they say like him, kamoha, kamoka. kamok, right? Kamoni. That's how they're going to say it. That's just their word for like him, like her, like you, like me, and then like us, kamonu. So you just have to get used to that. It's just something that you'll have to be able to recognize if it looks weird to you, be able to look it up, remember this pronominal suffixes, and just know that that's what those words mean. You got the same ones for men, and you've got the doubling of the name there. So mimenu, mimena, mimeka, mimake, mimani, and then mimenu. And then the other ones, right, the 3 MP through the 2 FP, they look pretty similar. Don't spend a ton of time trying to memorize all of these, but maybe just remember, all right, so the cough preposition, right, it means like or as. And then when it occurs with a pronominal suffix, it's going to occur as like uh, kamo. And then the men is going to occur like mem on a few of them. If you can just remember that, and then you look at the endings are by and large the same. So while it seems like there's a lot of information being covered here, and there is, I don't want to undermine that. While it seems like there's a lot, there's not as much as what it seems like, because these endings follow in general the same basic pattern. So if you can recognize it for one of them, you can recognize it for all of them. So with that direct object marker, the definite direct object marker, right, as they occur, they'll take the type 1 pronominal suffixes and are translated in an objective case. So, B'Tselem, Elohim, Bara, Ot-O. So, B'Tselem is the word for image. Ba is the preposition, the bait preposition. So, in Selim, in image of Elohim, so in the image of God. So it's got the proper noun there. That's going to be a construct. It's definite. In the image of God, bara, he created Otho, him. So in the image of God, or in the image of God, he created them. He created him. So Otho, him. So again, so if you know that direct object marker, the eth direct object marker that we've hopefully gotten used to at this point, which we learned about very early on. If you see Otho or Otha or Othka or Othak or Othi, it's just him, her, you, right, me. So it's just that ending that we've seen that's common between all of these, and it just means him or her. So just think of this as it's a pronominal suffix, but here you're just going to get a pronoun, right? And you're going to get a pronoun that is in the objective case. Him, her. It's not going to be possessive like his or hers, right? Her. So, and then we've got pronominal suffixes with the word im or the word and they're going to follow a basic kind of pattern. So im meaning with, and then the word meaning people. So with him versus his people. The reason why this chart is here is because these look very similar, don't they? Right? But notice the big difference is the vowel. So if you see that pathic vowel there, there's some minor differences other than that. Like in the 2FS, you've got a tsere for the instead of the kametz for the eem. But with her versus her people, right? Notice the eem means with, means people. They look very similar, but the vowel pattern is what is going to be the big major difference. So again, that's only there just so that you'll see. So here's a summary of kind of all of those things that we focused on. This is not new information. Right? This is not new information. This is just all of the content that we've talked about so far. So don't be like, oh no, there's another chart. It's not. It's just trying to put it all on one slide on one piece of paper. So before you move on, become familiar with the form, that is how words are spelled, person, whether it's first, second, or third person, gender, whether it's masculine, feminine, or common, number, right? And so number is whether it's singular or plural. And then translation values, whether something is possessive or objective. So just get familiar with those. Notice it doesn't say memorize. Become familiar with the types of changes that happen, but really focus more on the similarities, right? Focus more on the similarities. It may help to memorize the paradigm for the preposition lamed, meaning two or four, because that is going to really kind of will be what you see as the main pattern. So with that, let's look at the vocabulary. Off means nostril or nose. It can also metaphorically mean anger. So you think about like somebody's nostrils flare when they're angry. Off. I don't, or maybe you could think of to memorize this word. I don't like the smell of like off bug spray. Bakar is the word for cattle or herd. Bakar. Boker is the word for morning. So notice that those have the same letters in their root. So Bakar and Boker, they're not words that are related to one another. And notice that the accent is different and the vowel pointings are different. This is where pronunciation is going to start to become important. In the same way that the difference between people and with, right? The im versus the they look similar. So if you're just trying to memorize them by sight, it's going to be difficult. But if you have a phonetic value, a sound to it, it becomes much easier. Barakah, blessing or gift. So if you've ever watched a movie or you've heard somebody like give a prayer in Hebrew, even modern Hebrew, Barakah Adonai Eloheinu, or something like that. So that's the word like blessing or gift. Hatat is a sin or a sin offering. You'll know it from its context. And notice you've got the word in construct there as well. It shows what it looks like in construct. The vowel changes. Kavod is the word for glory or splendor. So kavod, it also has this idea of kind of weightiness or heaviness. Kali, this is like the word thing in Hebrew. It's super common. A kali is a vessel. It's an instrument. It's a weapon. It's a lot of different things. So it could be something, and it can be even something very specific. But kali is almost like the word for thing. You'll know from the context what it means by what's going on, because it might say, and he had a sword, a cherev, and he took the thing, right, the kali, and sliced the bread with it, or something like that. So, lachem, I said bread because the next word is bread. Lachem is the word bread. Notice the chet there, for bread. Milchama, war, battle. Mishpacha, family. So you go to milchama with your mishpacha, right? You go to war with your family. I'm just trying to help you think of ways to memorize that. Am is the word for people, sometimes in the plural. Amim, right? Peoples. Eitz is the word for tree. Eitz. We had the word chaitz for arrow. This is a little bit different. Eitz, tree or wood. So he had the wood for the sacrifice in the binding of Isaac narrative. O is the word for or. O. Ain it's a particle of non-existence. It means like is not or are not, depending on kind of the context. So Ain Sus would be there is no horse. So Ain Sus, there is no horse. Yeah. So Gom is the word for also or even, and then the word Hain is behold or if. Also, the word Hine is the word for behold or if. So notice Hain used 107 times. Hine, behold or look, right? Behold, like, and behold, There it was is going to be very common, 1,000 times plus, right? A little bit more than 1,000 times. Hene. Yesh is so ain is the particle for non-existence. Yesh is the particle of existence. So yesh sus means there is a horse. Yesh sus. Levad is alone or by one's self. And then saviv is the word for like surroundings or to be about or around something. So saviv is the surroundings of something. All right. So again, focus on the similarities between those charts. We looked at a lot of charts. We looked at some differences that are between them, but notice how very similar they are. And as you're reading, be able to match those charts up. And in particular, as you're looking at those charts, notice those similarities and be able to translate accordingly. The key here, again, is going to be working through the Hebrew texts. So work in the textbook, work in the workbook. Right? Those are going to be key. I hope that this was helpful. Now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of his Holy Spirit be with you all. Go in his peace.